Welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me once again here on the Numis Hunter, where we dive deep into the world of rare coins, unbelievable discoveries, and the fascinating stories behind the most unexpected treasures hiding in plain sight. And today we're exploring a coin that has stunned collectors, shocked experts, and sparked countless discussions across the numismatic community. A seemingly ordinary 1994 quarter dollar that has been rumored to carry a staggering value of $78 million because of a combination of extremely rare minting errors, extraordinary die anomalies, production mistakes, and the type of once-in-a-lifetime imperfections that elevate a simple 25-cent piece into a legendary artifact, the kind of coin that makes people check their change jars, their pockets, their old drawers, and every forgotten coin roll in hopes of stumbling upon something similar. And as we dive into the story of this unbelievable 1994 quarter, we're going to explore the possibilities, the hypothetical conditions, and the fascinating numismatic factors that could, in theory, push a modern circulating coin into a realm of unimaginable value. So sit back and get ready, because this coin, though simple in appearance, is a deep dive into the mysteries of minting errors, the rarest die states, the wildest possibilities of the Denver Mint in the mid-1990s, and the reasons collectors chase pieces like this, imagining what kinds of mistakes could turn a coin into a multimillion-dollar treasure. And as we explore the legend of this 1994 quarter dollar, let's begin by looking at what makes this particular year and mint mark so intriguing, because 1994 was a year when the United States Mint was running massive production numbers, millions upon millions of quarter dollars pouring out of the Denver Mint, and whenever a mint faces high output, the chances of unexpected errors increase, whether that involves planchet flaws, misaligned dies, double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, filled dies, broad strikes, incorrect metal compositions, and even rarer possibilities like transitional errors, and the hypothetical $78 million valuation for a single 1994 quarter leads collectors to imagine what kind of combination of errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies could reach such a level. So think of a coin that isn't just flawed but is layered with multiple unique errors, beginning, for example, with a wrong metal planchet situation where a quarter is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, like a dime or a foreign coin, or even an experimental planchet left over from previous testing phases, because coins like that can reach high values depending on rarity and demand. And if a 1994 quarter were struck on an experimental copper-nickel alloy variant, or perhaps a leftover planchet composition used for testing coin durability, it would already be special. But imagine adding to that a double strike where the second strike is slightly off-center, revealing overlapping details of Washington's profile and inscriptions, creating a dramatic visual that collectors dream of, and then layer onto that a rotated die error where the obverse and reverse do not align properly, adding an even more dramatic minting anomaly that increases its value significantly. But now picture that same coin showing evidence of a major die break on the reverse, perhaps extending across the eagle or the text, forming what collectors call a cud, a massive raised area where part of the die has literally broken away, making the coin even more unusual. And then imagine additional subtle errors such as die polishing marks, clash marks where the dies hit each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghost images, and you begin to see how a coin could theoretically gather an unbelievable combination of anomalies, making it one of the most unique modern quarters ever produced. And now consider the story behind how such a coin might have escaped the mint, slipping past quality control, merging into circulation, and eventually disappearing into someone's pocket long before anyone knew its value, making it the perfect mystery coin, a coin that collectors and treasure hunters love to imagine, because the Denver Mint in the 1990s, while technologically advanced, still operated with human oversight, mechanical stress, and enormous production pressures, leaving open the possibility for rare multi-error coins to be born. And when you combine the possibility of a wrong planchet strike, multiple misstrikes, die breaks, clash marks, rotation errors, and perhaps even a highly polished proof-like surface that adds visual appeal, you get a coin so unique that its value becomes driven not only by numismatic rarity but also by collector frenzy, market psychology, and the allure of owning something that no one else in the world possesses. And that's where the idea of the 1994 quarter dollar reaching a mythical $78 million price tag comes into play. Because in the world of collecting, sometimes it isn't just the errors themselves but the combination of errors, the story behind them, the condition of the coin, and the demand surrounding it that create value. So some collectors imagine that such a coin could have an extraordinary origin story, perhaps tied to a batch of experimental planchets tested during a transitional year, or minted using dies that were incorrectly prepared, or produced during a shift change when machinery malfunctioned. and these rare hypothetical conditions become the backbone of numismatic storytelling, inspiring people to keep searching, to look through every roll, to study every coin for subtle clues, and to dream of finding the next legendary piece. And a 1994 D quarter with such extreme anomalies might show minute details such as doubled inscriptions on the motto, split serifs on the date, doubling on the mint mark, unusual reading errors, or even missing reading altogether if the coin was struck improperly or outside the collar, and these micro-details add layers of fascination that collectors can spend hours analyzing, debating, and comparing. And the excitement grows when people imagine possibilities like a quarter struck using leftover experimental blanks from foreign coin production contracts that the US Mint occasionally handled, or perhaps a quarter struck in an early die state showing crisp details mixed with early die cracks that collectors find visually stunning. And if this coin were preserved in near-perfect condition, perhaps discovered in a sealed mint bag decades later, its value could skyrocket even further, driven by rarity, condition, demand, and the story surrounding it. And in the numismatic world, stories matter, because the more incredible the story, the more collectors want to be part of it. And this push of demand fuels the fantasy of a coin reaching incredible valuations, the kind that spark legends, videos, discussions, and ongoing searches by thousands of coin enthusiasts. And part of what makes the idea of the 1994 D quarter dollar so alluring is the mystery of what exact errors could combine to create such value, whether it's an off-metal strike, a dramatic double die, a spectacular broad strike, a wrong collar error, a phantom mint mark impression, or even a misaligned hubbing issue during die creation, because errors like that, though extremely rare, have happened in other years and denominations, and when they do, the coins become some of the most coveted pieces in existence. And when you imagine all of those errors happening at once on a single quarter, the uniqueness becomes staggering, elevating the coin to a level beyond rare and into the realm of priceless for collectors who crave the absolute extremes of minting anomalies. And so the legend continues, the idea of a 1994 D quarter worth $78 million capturing imaginations, inspiring searches, and igniting a sense of adventure among coin hunters everywhere. And as we explore the possibilities of this extraordinary coin, we're reminded that part of the magic of coin collecting lies not only in what is known but also in what could be, in the thrilling idea that somewhere out there, perhaps tucked away in a forgotten box or buried in a lifetime savings jar, lies a coin so unique that it transforms an ordinary moment into one of the greatest discoveries in numismatic history. And if the mythic 1994 D quarter dollar truly existed with such a stunning range of errors and anomalies, it would stand as one of the greatest modern rarities ever imagined, a treasure worth tens of millions, a symbol of the endless fascination people have for coins, history, and the mysteries of minting. And as always, if you enjoy researching, exploring, and uncovering hidden value in everyday pocket change, then keep watching, keep searching, and make sure you stay connected with the Numis Hunter, where we continue diving into the most incredible stories in the world of rare coins. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and stay updated as we explore more unbelievable coin treasures and the stories that make them unforgettable. Next, 1981 P. Today we're exploring the mysterious, surprising, and almost unbelievable story behind the 1981 P quarter dollar coin that collectors claim can be worth an eye-popping $44 million due to a combination of rare errors, minting mistakes, and unusual circumstances that have made this particular year and mint mark one of the most talked about subjects in modern numismatics. So sit back as we unravel everything from hidden die issues to strange metal anomalies, off-center strikes, doubled elements, misaligned features, unexpected planchet quirks, the background of the Philadelphia Mint at the time, and why all these elements together could create a perfect storm that elevates an ordinary coin into a legendary treasure that collectors around the world chase with passion. And as we begin this long journey into the mysteries and possibilities surrounding the 1981 P quarter, we first touch on the fact that the early 1980s were a transitional period for the US Mint, facing growing production demands, aging machinery, increased wear on dies, and the constant pressure to push out hundreds of millions of coins as quickly as possible. And whenever you have that mixture of speed, pressure, and aging equipment, you inevitably create the environment where strange and unexpected minting anomalies can form. So when coin hunters talk about the 1981 P quarter with breathless excitement, they're tapping into a reality that the Philadelphia Mint's massive output that year, coupled with the potential for unnoticed errors slipping through, makes the existence of a spectacular multi-million-dollar variety not just a fantasy but a genuine possibility. And what really fuels the fire is the number of error types connected with this date, starting with the widely rumored double die obverse that collectors swear exists, though extremely few authentic examples have ever surfaced, making this supposed doubling on the date the word liberty or the motto "In God We Trust." An almost mythological treasure, yet the possibility of such a doubled die is incredibly believable considering that the early stages of die preparation that year were rushed, and if such a doubled die escaped detection, a handful of 1981 P quarters could show a crisp, dramatic and unmistakable doubling that would be valued at astronomical sums because the rarity would be on the level of only a few known specimens. And then there's the matter of off-center strikes, which happen when the blank planchet isn't perfectly positioned between the dies, producing a coin with part of the design missing. And while mild off-center strikes aren't rare, dramatic ones where a large portion of the design is missing are extremely rare for quarters because larger denomination coins were monitored more carefully, meaning a deeply off-center 1981 P quarter with full readable date and mint mark could command an astounding premium, especially if the error is paired with another anomaly, something collectors call a double error. And of course the most shocking values come when multiple rare errors occur at once, such as a double die combined with a clipped planchet, a broad strike with no rim, or a transitional strike where the coin was accidentally minted on a leftover foreign or wrong metal planchet, and the US Mint has historically struck foreign coins. So the possibility that a different composition planchet ended up under the Washington quarter dies is more than realistic, and if a 1981 P quarter were discovered struck on a foreign or mismatched metal, especially if it weighed significantly more or less than normal, it would instantly leap into legendary status, possibly explaining the rumored multi-million-dollar valuations that circulate among collectors who have seen unusual specimens. And while the average 1981 P quarter isn't rare in the normal sense, hundreds of millions were minted. The key to its shocking potential value lies entirely in the small, nearly invisible handful of error pieces that slipped through the system and escaped into circulation, hiding for decades in jars, drawers, collections and forgotten pockets, waiting for the right enthusiast to find them. And when we move deeper into the mechanics of how such valuable errors could have occurred, we find that the Philadelphia Mint was dealing with heavy die deterioration in that era, meaning many coins show signs of fatigue, weak strikes or mushy details, and this environment also makes it extremely likely that misaligned dies, die cracks and even shattered dies could have produced dramatic break patterns on the surface of some coins, creating raised, lightning-like lines across Washington's portrait or the eagle on the reverse that collectors value highly. And on extremely rare occasions, a die crack grows into a full die break known as a cud, where a chunk of the die actually falls off, leaving a massive raised blob of metal on the final struck coin. And such a feature on a 1981 P quarter would not only be visually dramatic but extremely rare, fueling the possibility of sky-high collector bids. And then we dive into the mysteries of planchet errors, which are some of the most fascinating because they deal with the very metal blank before it ever meets the dies, such as incomplete punchings creating crescent-shaped clip planchets, wrong thickness resulting in overweight or underweight pieces, lamination issues where the metal surface peels or splits, or even improperly mixed alloys that give the coin unusual coloring or texture. And if one of these planchet errors intersects with a dramatic striking error, the value compounds exponentially, explaining how a single piece could be rumored to reach astounding numbers like the $44 million mark in the rare coin world, where the combination of rarity, desirability, historical relevance, and mystery creates a perfect marketplace storm. And as we push further into the possibilities, we also consider the potential existence of test strikes or experimental errors that the mint never meant to release but somehow slipped out, perhaps coins that were used to calibrate machinery or test dies that were later discarded or forgotten, only for a few of these unique pieces to escape into circulation where they become priceless relics completely unlike standard production coins. And although such pieces are extraordinarily rare, numismatic history proves again and again that they do happen, with multiple examples from other years showing accidental releases of test or transitional pieces. So it's entirely within reason that the 1981 P quarter could harbor one of these mysterious survivors. And when collectors fantasize about the idea of a $44 million example, they envision something like a perfect storm of errors, perhaps a sharply doubled die, struck on the wrong metal, off-center dramatically, with a major die break and preserved in extraordinary condition. And while the odds of all these factors occurring on one coin are astronomically tiny, the world of minting errors is full of chaotic possibilities, and it only takes one such piece to create a numismatic legend worth more than a mansion, a yacht, or a fleet of luxury cars. And imagine the further excitement if such a coin were found in uncirculated condition, perhaps tucked away in a mint set that escaped widespread handling, its original luster still blazing, the errors perfectly preserved like a snapshot of a historical moment frozen in metal. and the rarity of both the era and the condition would become a magnet for the world's most powerful collectors, driving the price higher and higher in competitive bidding. And part of what makes the legend of the 1981 P quarter so compelling is that even though millions were produced, the vast majority have lived ordinary lives in circulation, meaning any era coins that did survive likely slipped past attention for decades, especially before the internet era, when massive coin forums, collectors groups, and value charts made it easier to identify hidden treasures. So a shocking discovery today isn't just possible, it's entirely likely somewhere in someone's drawer or pocket change right now, waiting for the right pair of eyes. And as we consider each layer of error possibility, from die doubling to misstruck edges, from broad strikes to die clashes where the dies strike each other without a planchet and transfer ghost-like images onto the next coins, from partial collar errors that create unusual lipped edges to rotated dies where the reverse design doesn't align correctly with the obverse, each one of these rare events adds to the legend of what might hide within the 1981 P minting run, creating the tantalizing scenario that the perfect combination of 2 or 3 or more catastrophic yet beautiful minting mistakes might exist on a single coin, and if discovered, that coin would completely rewrite the landscape of Washington quarter collecting, becoming a historical artifact, a sensation in the numismatic world, and a headline-making treasure potentially fetching tens of millions, because collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying a once-in-a-lifetime story captured in a tiny disk of American history. And as we close this long exploration of the 1981 P quarter and the extraordinary possibilities that surround it, remember that the true value of such a coin isn't just in its metal or its date, but in the incredible journey it represents, the mystery wrapped inside every strike, the tension between mint perfection and human error, the magic of the unknown and the thrill of discovery. So keep searching, keep learning, keep checking your change, because the next unbelievable treasure could be sitting in the palm of your hand. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coin errors, next, 1979 quarter dollar. Today's focus is on a coin that has shocked collectors, stunned historians, and captured the imagination of anyone who has ever wondered whether the loose change sitting in a drawer or jar might actually be worth far more than its face value suggests. Because in this incredible journey we're unraveling the fascinating mystery behind the 1979 quarter dollar coin that has been reported to reach an astonishing value of up to $16 million due to a perfect storm of unusual errors, unexpected minting mistakes, rare variations, and the endless possibilities that swirl around coins from a time when the mint was undergoing changes, facing production challenges, and unintentionally releasing pieces that would later become the stuff of numismatic legend. So get comfortable, stay tuned, and let's explore why an ordinary-looking 1979 quarter can become one of the most valuable coins in American history, beginning with the story of how such a coin came to exist. What errors make it so extraordinary, and how collectors today continue to hunt for these rare pieces with an excitement that feels like a treasure hunt mixed with detective work, because the truth is that the 1979 quarter comes from an era when the US Mint was transitioning through different technological phases, and even small anomalies during this time can lead to dramatic value decades later, particularly when the mistakes are significant enough to create coins that stand completely apart from the millions of other quarters produced in the same year. And the 1979 minting year is especially intriguing because it produced certain coins that exhibit a mix of double die strikes, clipped planchets, off-center minting, die cracks, grease-filled dies, and other dramatic errors that collectors now view as masterpieces of accidental art, each telling a unique story about the mechanical, human, and environmental conditions in the minting process, with some of these errors so dramatic that they transform the coin into a one-of-a-kind piece. And it's exactly these one-of-a-kind nature errors that often push prices into millions, because rarity drives value, especially when a coin is not just rare but visually striking, historically meaningful, and tied to an iconic production period. And that's why the 1979 quarter sits in its own category among rare coins, with certain specimens rumored to sell in private auctions and private collector circles for prices that seem unimaginable to someone who sees a quarter only as a regular piece of currency rather than a potential fortune. And what makes this even more exciting is the fact that many of these incredibly rare 1979-era quarters were not originally set aside by mint employees or high-level collectors, but instead slipped into circulation just like normal coins, meaning millions of people have unknowingly spent or received change that could have included one of these multi-million-dollar treasures, and that knowledge alone fuels a sense of excitement, because it means the hunt isn't confined to museums or private vaults but could unfold in your own home if you've kept old coins, jars of change, or inherited collections from relatives who lived through the late 1970s and early 1980s. And when we break down the reasons why a 1979 quarter can skyrocket in value, We see a mix of technical factors and historical circumstances, starting with the double die obverse error where the design elements such as the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" appear doubled due to misalignment in the minting dies, and this doubling effect isn't just a tiny detail visible under a microscope but in some cases appears large and dramatic enough for the naked eye, making it a highly desirable and visually impressive error that collectors are willing to pay enormous sums for. And then there are off-center strikes where the coin is struck improperly and results in a portion of the design missing while still retaining the date, a combination that makes it valuable because off-center coins without dates lose much of their desirability due to identification challenges. So a 1979 quarter that is significantly off-center yet still shows the date is extremely collectible, but that is just one layer of the story because die cracks, especially large, dramatic cracks that run across Washington's portrait or through the reverse eagle design, create what collectors call lightning bolt cracks, spider web cracks, or even face fractures, and these dramatic visual features increase the value because each crack pattern is unique, like nature-made artwork accidentally formed during the minting process, and some 1979 quarters display such large cracks that collectors compare them to ancient coins with battle scars, giving them historical character that enhances desirability. And then you have clipped planchets where the coin appears to have a curved bite taken out of the edge due to the metal strip being improperly fed during production, and clip planchet errors are always interesting but when combined with intact details like the date and clean curvature, they command much higher prices, especially for older coins, and the 1979 quarter is no exception, with certain clip planchet examples adding thousands to the value on their own. But when combined with additional errors like weak strikes or die polishing marks, the price can multiply exponentially, yet perhaps the most mysterious and exciting of all the errors associated with the 1979 quarter comes from the rare possibility of transitional planchet mistakes, where a coin is accidentally struck on a leftover metal blank intended for another denomination, another year, or even a completely different metal composition. And although extremely rare, transitional error coins are some of the highest priced coins in existence because they are true minting accidents that theoretically shouldn't exist at all, and the idea that a 1979 quarter might have been struck on a silver planchet left over from earlier years or even on a foreign coin planchet used for U.S. mint contract production adds incredible intrigue and skyrockets its potential value, and when you combine all of these possibilities, double dies, off-center strikes, clip planchets, die cracks, grease-filled dies, transitional planchets, broad strikes, partial collars, missing clad layers, and more, it becomes clear how a single example of a 1979 quarter with multiple stacked errors could realistically command a $16 million valuation within elite collector circles, especially if it's authenticated, preserved in pristine condition, and considered a true one-of-a-kind piece with historical, visual, and technical value all layered together. But the story doesn't end with the errors alone because the broader numismatic landscape also plays a massive role in determining the value, as collectors are constantly looking for rare additions to complete sets. Investors are entering the coin market seeking safe and appreciating assets, and museums or private vaults seek iconic pieces that symbolize key moments in minting history. And with the rising popularity of numismatic content online, coins that were once quietly traded behind closed doors are now being brought into the spotlight, creating more competition, more interest, more hype, and ultimately higher values. And the 1979 quarter, with its mix of historical charm and minting chaos, has become a perfect candidate for this new wave of attention, especially when people realize that coins with errors were often overlooked and spent as normal money for decades, meaning their survival rate in good condition is incredibly low, and low survivability equals high rarity, which directly fuels high market value, and many collectors believe that as time goes on, we may discover more ultra-rare 1979 quarters hiding in personal collections, old coin rolls, estate sales, forgotten bank boxes, inherited coin jars, or antique shops where the owners might not even realize the treasure sitting right in front of them. And that's exactly why coin hunters across the world are carefully examining their change, looking for doubling, cracks, missing layers, unusual alignments, and anything that looks even slightly abnormal, because the truth is that some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were found completely by accident by ordinary people who happened to look a bit closer. And the 1979 quarter captures that magic perfectly since it represents the possibility that a $16 million treasure might be sitting in someone's drawer right now waiting to be discovered, and the thrill of that possibility is what keeps collectors excited, keeps researchers digging deeper into the history of minting errors from that year, and keeps the legend of the 1979 quarter alive, inspiring both beginners and experts alike to never underestimate the power of a small coin, because when the right combination of rarity, condition, historical significance, and dramatic errors comes together, even a simple 25-cent piece can become the centerpiece of a legendary collection. And with that inspiring reminder, thank you for joining me on this deep exploration into the spectacular world of rare coins and the unbelievable story of the 1979 quarter worth $16 million. And if you enjoyed this fascinating journey and want more incredible coin stories, mysteries, and discoveries, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay connected for future videos where we uncover even more hidden treasures waiting to be found. Today we're taking you into one of the most talked about, shocking and exciting tales in modern numismatics as we explore the astonishing story of the 1978 quarter-dollar coin that has been rumored to reach a jaw-dropping value of $25 million because of an extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, unusual minting circumstances, and rare possibilities that transformed what was once just a common coin struck in the late 70s into a treasure of mythic proportions. And as we dive into this incredible journey together, I want to welcome you all to another deep exploration into the mysteries of American coinage, a thrilling ride through history, technology, mistakes, and chance, where nothing is too ordinary to become extraordinary and where even a coin minted by the millions can rise into legend when the perfect storm of minting anomalies converges on a single metallic disc, a coin that in normal circumstances is hardly different from the billions of Washington quarters circulating since 1932, but in this rare instance has become a symbol of how imperfections, misalignments, mechanical failures, and human oversight can create something so unique, so impossible to duplicate, and so breathtakingly rare that collectors around the world are willing to pay fortunes to own it. And as we unfold the mesmerizing story of the 1978 quarter, let us begin by imagining the year itself, a time when minting technology was reliable yet imperfect, when the United States Mint was pushing millions upon millions of quarters through high-powered presses each day, when the dies responsible for striking these coins were under immense stress, and every once in a while, in the blink of an eye, a combination of misstrikes, planchet irregularities, or die wear could happen without anyone noticing until a strange coin appeared later in circulation or inside a bag or roll waiting to be discovered. And this is exactly where the legend of this $25 million 1978 quarter begins, with the possibility that an unexpected mistake occurred during production, something not immediately obvious, something subtle yet profound enough to classify the coin as unique among the millions of its siblings, the kind of error that becomes the holy grail for collectors who understand the magnitude of rarity and who know that one single anomaly in the minting process can turn an everyday coin into a treasure chest of value. So what exactly could make this particular 1978 quarter so valuable? What type of mistakes or errors could elevate it into the stratosphere of high-value numismatic legends? What went wrong, or rather what went perfectly wrong in the machinery, timing, metal composition, or die alignment that caused one specimen from this year to stand out from all the rest and attract a rumored valuation of $25 million? Well, the list of possibilities is massive because the minting process is filled with countless micro-steps where something unusual could occur. And when we talk about valuable error coins, the first category that comes to mind is a dramatic double die, the kind where the coin shows strongly doubled features, especially on the date, on the word liberty, on the motto "In God We Trust," or on the reverse inscription such as United States of America or quarter dollar. And while double dies from the 70s are known and collected, an exceptionally strong and clean double die could theoretically emerge from this year, causing extreme rarity. And another possibility involves the planchet itself, since the planchet, the blank metal disc before striking, may have been composed of an incorrect alloy, perhaps even struck on a copper-nickel composition meant for a different denomination, or a transitional planchet mistakenly fed into the press. And this kind of off-metal error is one of the most valuable categories in numismatics because it produces coins that should not exist according to mint records and therefore become extremely desirable. So imagine a 1978 quarter mistakenly struck on a 40% silver planchet left over from years prior, or even on a foreign coin planchet intended for another country's order, which has happened several times throughout US mint history. Or maybe it was struck on a planchet meant for a nickel or even a clad layer missing blank, producing a two-layer error where the surface and core do not match properly, resulting in a quarter with unusual weight, color, or ring when tapped. And collectors go absolutely wild for such anomalies. Then we consider striking errors such as broad strikes, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, double strikes, triple strikes, and even the extremely rare saddle strike error where the coin is struck between two dies at once, all possibilities that could contribute to the massive rumored value of such a coin. But the truly mind-bending scenario is when multiple errors occur on the same coin, which is where rarity skyrockets because error combinations are incredibly scarce, and when we think about the potential combinations that may have created the legendary 1978 quarter valued at $25 million, we enter a world of possibilities such as a double die obverse combined with an off-metal planchet, or an off-center strike combined with a dramatic die break, or a broad strike combined with a missing clad layer. And the more complex the error combination, the fewer examples exist, often just one. Which is how these coins reach astronomical values, and when we talk about the possibility of die breaks, the kind where cracks appear in the die and leave raised metal lines on the coin's surface, we open yet another pathway to rarity, especially if the break formed in such a dramatic way that it created a retained cud, a massive raised area on the rim, or a large interior die break that dramatically distorts Washington's portrait or the eagle on the reverse, creating a stunning visual difference that no other coin from the year possesses, and when such breaks occur near the phrase Liberty or the year 1978, they catch even more attention because collectors can clearly see the anomaly, making it visually striking and historically significant, and beyond these mechanical errors lies the possibility of transitional design issues, because although the 1978 quarter followed the standard Washington quarter design, the dies used that year may have included micro-variations, relocated mint marks, differences in spacing, or subtle design changes made by engravers or die polishers attempting to correct imperfections, and sometimes coins struck from these altered dies turn out noticeably different from the standard examples, creating varieties that can be extremely scarce especially if the die was retired early. But what pushes this particular coin's rumored value into the realm of $25 million is the belief that the coin represents a unique and undocumented combination of errors so unusual that it stands as a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of accidental mint craftsmanship, a coin that perhaps slipped through the mint's inspection systems before such protocols became stricter, a coin that may have traveled unnoticed for years until eventually someone with a sharp eye realized its extraordinary features and decided to authenticate it. And since numismatic history is filled with legendary coins whose value soared due to uniqueness, such as the 1943 copper penny or the 1933 double eagle, it is not impossible for a 1978 quarter with a once-in-a-lifetime error combination to achieve monumental worth, and the mystique surrounding this coin only grows when you consider stories of collectors who claim to have seen examples with strange metal toning, unusual weight, clearly doubled lettering, rotated reverse alignments where the eagle is not properly oriented relative to the obverse, and even coins struck with misaligned dies so extreme that part of the design is missing entirely. And while many of these stories remain in the realm of speculation, they contribute to the growing legend that somewhere, in someone's possession, exists a 1978 quarter whose error combination is so extraordinary that collectors value it not merely as an object but as a historical artifact of minting unpredictability, a physical reminder that even in highly controlled production environments perfection is not always achieved, and sometimes that failure creates something magnificently rare. And so as we reflect on the possibilities, the errors, the mistrikes, the wrong planchets, the doubling, the cuds, the off-center impacts, the clipped edges, the missing layers, the transitional anomalies and the entire world of minting chaos that may have contributed to this exceptional coin's value, we're reminded of why coin collecting is so thrilling, because every coin you hold could carry a hidden story, a secret mistake, a rare anomaly waiting to be discovered, and maybe, just maybe, your pocket change contains the next multi-million-dollar treasure, so keep searching, keep learning, keep exploring and stay tuned for more incredible discoveries, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the mystery and value of the 1978 quarter, make sure to like,